Suddenly appearing in Tunisia wearing parkas, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two men who will never understand the mysteries of Lost, Mark Kaiser and Wade Major.
Mark, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if Iron Man 3, of all things, winds up being the most successful superhero movie of all time, I'm just going to pack up and go to Tuscany and just pick grapes.
Oh, that's impossible, because The Avengers is going to be the all-time biggest. Maybe if there's a Justice League movie someday.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or The Avengers 2.
Look, I'm just saying Iron Man 3 is steamrolling. I mean, globally, it's making a ridiculous amount of money.
Well, it was made to steam. If you read my review of the film at Alt Film Guide,
yeah,
just Google Alt Film Guide and my name. Mm-hmm. I kind of rip into the movie for just showing such fealty to China and how they changed the nationality of the villain so that China's not pissed off. It pokes fun at America. You know, it puts a lot of Chinese products as product placement,
which the Chinese hate, by the way.
They
hated that.
Somehow the movie's been massaged to appeal to China and appeal to the Film Censorship Committee, the committee that greenlights the 34 foreign films a year that are allowed to play in China.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It's just making a ridiculous amount of money. And on a different note, another little bit of news I want to make mention of. You know, there's something really interesting going on with Netflix. There's a whole changing of the guard with the Netflix library, and I think a lot of people are getting kind of pissed off about the streaming thing. For example, Warner Brothers yanked back hundreds of their titles, which are now available only through Warner's proprietary streaming. Universal did the same thing. MGM did the same thing. A lot of the studios are saying, you know what, we can make more money if we just rent these things on a per basis, or if we have some kind of a streaming subscription thing on our own. If we're handling our own titles, we can do better. And Netflix, of course, is scrambling to replace them with other licenses. But ultimately, you know, Netflix is the go-to place for people to see new movies and anything that they want to see. I think everyone assumes that everything is on Netflix. And if they go to Netflix streaming, they don't find something, they're going to say, well, what the hell am I spending $7 a month for?
Well, there's increasingly less. I mean, I think on May 1st, Netflix lost like a couple thousand movies. Like a couple thousand movies went back to whoever owned the rights previously.
Yeah.
You know,
that was part of that. It was the Warner thing, and there's Universal in there as well. So it's a bit of a fiasco.
I mean, there was a bunch of expired licensing deals from like MGM, Warner Brothers, and I think Universal. And you know, that includes films like Adaptation and Cruel Intentions and Reality Bites and a bunch of James Bond films. And, you know, okay, it was also Big Daddy. But, but again, Netflix is hoping that the movies that they add make up for the movies that they lose. Like on Netflix now is, you know, Pulp Fiction and Chinatown and Dirty Dancing. So it really depends. But the day where we thought Netflix would just be the be-all, end-all.
No, I never thought that.
Yeah, I think those are over.
I never thought that. You can't. They're a sub-licenser. It's just never going to be the case. Sub-licensors are always going to lose their licenses, and they're always going to be playing this game of having to replace what they're losing. It is what an old teacher of mine, a high school teacher of mine, Ken F. Curry, who taught sales training in all the business classes in high school. KFC were his initials, and he even looked like the colonel. Ken F. Curry called it the leaky barrel theory. I've never forgotten that. The leaky barrel theory. You always got to keep replenishing the barrel. And
that's also why they are replenishing the barrel with original shows like House of Cards and Hemlock Grove.
Yep. Well, we're gonna start the show talking about some television, Mark. Oh, we're going to talk about some television. I'm going to talk about what may be the single most extraordinary television movie production in history, anywhere in the world. That's right. We waited generations upon generations for this movie. This is the movie that television was invented for. Television never fully realized its potential until the airing of Liz and Dick. And that's right, I'm talking about Liz and Dick, the biofilm about Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, a love story for the ages, as it says, starring Lindsay Lohan as Elizabeth Taylor and some guy named Grant Bowler as Richard Burton. This is amazing. Have you seen this?
You know, this was I work at a cable network that that discusses Lindsay Lohan obsessively.
Yeah.
And this was, and
Oh,
the
my
thing
goodness.
is that this was seen at my cable network. For some reason, this was seen as like the comeback that's going to make her the greatest thing ever. But they don't realize that like it's a Lifetime film directed by a nobody. And I don't know that they look at it that way. They just look at it like
Oh, no.
I don't know. They don't look at it like business people. My network looks at it like glamour star red carpet people, and there was no way this film was ever going to be good.
I'll tell you, if you watch this movie, if you have not seen this, when you watch it, this is out on DVD from E1 Entertainment, not on Blu-ray, sad to say, but it's definitely out on DVD. If you watch this, wherever you are, sitting down, standing up, make sure that you have a pillow directly below your jaw, because it's going to drop, and it's going to drop hard, and it's going to drop repeatedly. This thing is such an outrageously hilarious train wreck. This is a camp classic. This is the kind of movie that will play on the monitors at gay clubs for as like the a drinking game thing for generations. This is just unbelievable. It is.
It is this generation's Mommy Dearest.
Oh my gosh, it's just so far beyond. It is an absolute a riot. It is a total hoot. And I had no idea. I didn't see it in the initial broadcast, and it's a riot. It really is funny. You just can't believe how bad it is. I don't know what it was like on the set when they were doing takes, and they're like, oh, take, perfect, great. I mean, day one, first performance, first take, everyone must have just looked at each other and just said, oh, this is going to suck.
Well,
what are we doing here? Well, why not? Just follow through.
Look,
Let's just finish it up.
They know it's a Lifetime film. Lindsay Lohan was, unhireable, very hard to insure.
Oh, my gosh.
I just think that people were thinking this movie would be a comeback. I don't understand.
I don't either. Well, anyway. And then not quite as horrible is Steel Magnolias. No, not the original movie Steel Magnolias. This is one of these weird things that we're doing now where we have to kind of, because we're a colorblind society, we have to take everything that once had an all-white cast, and now we're going to try to do it with an all-black cast. I don't really understand the point of that, to be honest. I realized like that this is kind of a cute game that a lot of people want to play. I mean, the first one was the Death at a Funeral.
That's right.
Which was like, I don't know, really? This is a good idea? Because the original was perfectly fine. It wasn't a race thing. Do we have to sort of take Martin Lawrence and all these black actors and throw them into a almost verbatim remake of a really fun British comedy, and somehow that makes it fresh? Why not just make fresh original films with black casts, or movies where race is irrelevant? I don't know. It almost seems like they're trying too hard. So this is an all-black Steel Magnolias with Queen Latifah and Felicia Rashad and Alfre Woodard, and these actresses have all done much better material. And really, frankly, this movie didn't need to be made again. It just, I don't get it. It's based on a play, obviously, by Robert Harling, and the play isn't race specific, but I don't know why. I'm sort of mystified. So that being said, it just feels like it's beating a dead horse, and there's nothing grotesquely offensive about it. There's no reason they shouldn't do this, but I just feel like these energies could be better put into other areas.
Oh, Wade, you're such a hater. Anyway, Season 7 of Dexter is now out on Blu-ray. This is the season that began last September. And this is a decent season. What I like about this season, although I really dipped in and out of the show over the years, is that the directors that they have are really good directors. John Dahl directed the first episode of Season 7. And you get directors like Ernest Dickerson, the great cinematographer, Spike Lee cinematographer. And then you have Michael Lehman, who, of course, directed Heathers, one of the great, teen films of the last generation. I hate to say last generation because it means I'm old. But anyway, Dexter, I don't know how long Dexter can keep killing people and like having people cover for him and not getting caught and, dealing with the mafia. And I think Dexter should just just die.
Not to sort of revisit last week a little bit, but this is the problem that I have with television shows now versus when China Beach was on the air. I know. I'm still pushing the China Beach.
It's the worst.
But shows now get greenlit based on how sort of sizzling the premise is, right? I mean, we have serial killers galore on television now. We've got the Hannibal show, and we've got the friggin' Psycho thing, and suddenly these are all the evil stepchildren of Dexter now. They're like, wow, Dexter took off. Well, let's go back and resurrect, Hitchcock's Psycho and Silence of the Lambs as TV series. Come on, stop. You have to have something that sustains from week to week, and just this raw premise of he's a killer and he kills every week, or this is what made him a killer. It's not enough. China Beach was about medical technicians during the Vietnam War. There's no this is going to happen every week. It was just about people. It was a setting within which people interact and have human, contact, and there are all kinds of dilemmas and an opportunity for great writing on a weekly basis. And those are the shows that sort of resonate. I don't know what's happening to television, but I know people are like, it's a golden age of television. I don't see it.
You know why you don't see it, Wade? Because you are a hater. But look, This is part of the reason why movies have to be more and more expensive, because they have to. It was funny because, like in the 50s, movies introduced technology like CinemaScope to get people out of their homes because TV was taking over. Now, in the 21st century, you've got studios spending $200 million on films to make them so grand that they have to get people out of their homes because widescreen TVs are bigger and audio setups are better, and also TV shows are terrific now. I mean, people talk about Game of Thrones way more than they talk about some big blockbuster.
Yeah, well, all right.
That's true.
Fine. Mark, you know what a really weird show is?
Star Trek.
You ever heard of K9? The series K9?
No, I have not.
I did this. I don't know how this completely slipped by me. I've never heard of this show. I'm not even familiar with the character K9, who apparently goes all the way back to a 1977 Doctor Who episode called The Invisible Enemy. This is just like the electronic dog, K9. And they made a series out of this thing. And it all takes place in London, and it's kind of an odd series. I don't really get it. It only lasted about a dozen episodes, all of which are on this one set from Shout Factory. This is just it's weird television kitsch. It's almost like Sid and Marty Krofft without drugs. Like if Sid and Marty Krofft woke up one morning and decided to just go stone cold sober and said, okay, we're not going to drop any acid today. We're going to try to come up with a show that's really cool and creative, but we're not going to do it on acid. And this is what they would have come up with. It just feels, I don't know.
So they were better on acid? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's just teenagers and a robot dog just protecting the galaxy. It's just kind of an odd show. It doesn't really, I don't know. It doesn't really work. But the whole series is there on DVD. It's very strange. Strange bit of. It's weird what lurks in the cracks of television history. I'm always amazed at the stuff that I've never heard of that's missed me, and this is one of them.
Wade, in 2007 or so, there was a resurrection of Flash Gordon, and
without the Queen score.
That's true, which is the best.
Oh, it's the best.
And what's his name? What's his name? Okay, don't sing the song. No, what's his name? Who appeared in Ted? You didn't see Ted, did you?
And Mark Wahlberg?
No, yeah.
I still haven't watched it.
It's funny. It's a funny movie. But what's his name appears in it? Sam Jones.
Sam Jones, yeah.
Yes.
Sweet.
In the movie, Mark Wahlberg reveres Flash Gordon, that movie. And so they get Sam Jones.
Now I gotta go watch it for
It's
sure.
funny. Ted's a funny movie. Anyway, Flash Gordon, 2007 around there, it lasted about 22 episodes. They tried to reconceptualize it, give it a 21st century spin, and I just think this thing was a nice try, I guess. The guy who played Flash Gordon, this guy Eric Johnson from Smallville, he's kind of bland, and it just feels like they're trying to Smallville-ize Flash Gordon, and I just think it totally did not work.
Lame.
I would definitely rent the movies or read the comic books or check out the Buster Crabbe serial. Anything is better than this new incarnation, now thankfully gone, of Flash Gordon.
You know, back in the 1930s, Buster Crabbe had a really cool name when he was playing Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers and Tarzan, and he just had a cool name, Buster Crabbe. Now, that name just sounds pornographic. It sounds like a porn star's name.
It sounds like a disease of some sort.
It does. It's just unfortunate. All right, Private Practice, the complete sixth and final season. This, of course, was the Grey's Anatomy spin-off series. And, boy, that final season came none too soon. The show's really, really running out of steam. They tried so many ways to kind of reinvent this series and give it a shot in the arm to really kind of, figure out the chemistry on the show. Chemistry never really worked. And with any of the characters, and it just, it was like a Grey's Anatomy spinoff just because they needed a Grey's Anatomy spinoff, and it never really was thought through. So after 6 years and trying a million different combinations to somehow generate interest on the cast and introducing different characters, bringing different actors in, and hoping that people would finally start watching this thing, they just kind of threw in the towel and said that we're done. So anyway, it's there it is, the final season. Go and watch it if you care. If the first 5 seasons didn't just wear you out.
Wait, third season of Rookie Blue is on DVD. This is just another one of those shows with a bunch of cops. And you know what? It's like they build Rookie Blue as one of those shows that, like, it combines, tough cop action with the lives of these people. Emotionally, you really feel for them. But you know what? They've been doing that since Hill Street Blues, so stop saying that that's like a unique thing.
I know.
So, and by the way, we're in the third season now. They're not rookies anymore. I'm sorry. It's the third season. They are not rookies. And although, you know what, people like, what's her name, Missy Peregrine? Mm-hmm. She's got kind of this all-American, I think she's Canadian, though, but she's got this all-American look to her. But I just think this is just another one of those shows. And, not really into Rookie Blue. But people seem to like it. It's lasted 3 seasons.
You know what another one of those shows is?
Star Wars?
Flashpoint. This is the 5th season of Flashpoint, which is basically SWAT. For my generation, it's SWAT. But since they can't call it SWAT, or they didn't want to be compared to the original SWAT, or since the Colin Farrell SWAT film tanked so badly, they call it Flashpoint. Fifth season in the series. Instead of SWAT, this is about the SRU. It's a better name than SWAT, isn't it? SRU.
No, SWAT's the best.
Because SWAT is Special Weapons and Tactics. But
what's SRU?
SRU is Strategic Response Unit.
Dud.
See? It sounds better, doesn't it? It's like, hey, call in the SRU.
Call in the SRU?
Call in the SRU.
Taming of the... Here, are you ready? This is what... When you think of SWAT, this is what you think of.
Oh, no. You're going to play the theme song. There you go. Thank you. Yes, it is. And it sounds so good when it's coming off of your computer speakers and through the microphone.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's quality. Oh, we're all about...
Wait, just get to the front. Here's the good part.
Oh, jeez. If this were a really professional show, we would have planned that ahead of time, and I would have had the audio clip ready to drop in.
There was nothing less professional than this show.
Oh, whatever. Anyway, Flashpoint 5th season. It's well acted, it's well directed, but it's ultimately the same kind of crap. It's the same deal. And then we also have James Michener's Texas. James Michener went through a phase as a novelist when he was just writing a lot of novels that just had the names of states and countries. Hawaii.
And each novel
Texas,
was like 2,000 pages long.
Montana. And they were none of it was really all that remarkable, but people were like, oh, Michener. And they made miniseries out of all of them. This is from 1995. Well after Centennial, I think it wasn't Centennial the first one? Was that I know they made a movie of Hawaii with Max von Sydow and Julie Andrews, which was this kind of epic misbegotten clunker, but I think Centennial was the first big miniseries. Came around the heels when suddenly Roots turned everything into miniseries. It was Roots and Shogun, and they're like, oh hey, well we'll just do Centennial. We'll let that run for the next 5 years. Anyway, James Michener's Texas. I don't know. You could do better things with 3 hours of your time. It's, I guess if you were around in 1995 and you have some kind of nostalgic connection to this thing, then by all means, go get it. Here's my enthusiastic review.
Gunsmoke is trickling out slowly on DVD. We now have the 8th season, Volume 1 and 2.
Oh my gosh, they'll finish that thing up by 2050.
I know. I mean, there were 20 seasons of this show. There was like 230 episodes, literally over 230 episodes of Gunsmoke.
I know.
Now this is, we're talking the 50s and 50s and 60s and I think into the 70s actually. But this starred, a bunch of people. Matt Dillon, James Arness. He was the Thing.
No, yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was the
creature from the Black Lagoon.
The Thing. No, he was the Thing. The original Thing. Thing from another world.
Yes, it was called The Thing from Another World. Right. Awesome, greatest thing ever. Anyway, this thing ran from 55 to 75, 20 years. They're talking about this. How people always used to say that Gunsmoke was the longest running TV show ever, and The Simpsons. It's going to make it, Wade.
Yeah, I guess.
By the way, The Simpsons is good again.
Is it?
I mean, it's decent again, and I think we might have talked about this a couple weeks ago because they're finally realizing that the humor's got to move fast. There's got to be more than 2 jokes a minute. And I like how the story threads dovetail into each other like they used to do at the beginning. The last few seasons are better, and it's funny because I think that might be because a lot of the kids who grew up watching and being influenced by the first few seasons of The Simpsons are now writing on The Simpsons. Anyway, Gunsmoke, 8th season, volumes 1 and 2. Stop breaking those up. Enough already. Also, we have another old classic show called Have Gun Will Travel. Now, Have Gun Will Travel is a little...
Richard Boone.
Huh?
I like Richard Boone as an actor. He was sort of, he was like... If Charles Bronson had not had such a huge career, Boone would have had his career.
Now,
he would have.
I guess. Richard Boone.
Yeah.
He didn't really... I'm not sure this show really resonates with anybody anymore. It aired from 57 to 63. Richard Boone again played Paladin. And, some of these were directed by Sam Peckinpah. Some were directed by William Conrad. Some were directed by, get this, Wade, Ida Lupino.
Really?
Directed some of these, yes. Ida Lupino directed some episodes of Have Gun Will Travel.
No kidding.
Isn't that bizarre?
That's weird.
That is weird. I don't know how that wound up happening. But anyway, this is the final season. Of course, they got to break up the final season into volume 1 and 2. And for those who don't know the show, the final season will mean nothing to you. But you know what? Your parents, actually, you know what? Not even your parents, your grandparents might dig Have Gun Will Travel, the final season.
Back when Westerns ruled television. They did.
Oh, totally.
They
you
ruled
kidding?
television back then.
Yep.
Felicity was originally released as a series from Buena Vista. ABC series. Buena Vista at the time was the name for for Disney's Buena Vista Home Video, Home Entertainment was Disney's output label, and now they just call it Walt Disney Home Entertainment. Then last year, Lionsgate started re-releasing this stuff. I guess, I don't know through what sub-licensing arrangement Lionsgate wound up with it, but they released a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, seasons 1 and 2. And now, for all of those who have been sitting on pins and needles waiting to see what happens in seasons 3 and 4 of Felicity, assuming that you like 20 years ago weren't watching the show when everybody else was, now we get seasons 3 and 4. And just some general extras on here, some select audio commentaries that were all part of the original releases. It's, this show, I guess, still has a bit of a following, co-created by our good friend Matt and JJ. And I guess maybe it's the JJ thing that keeps this coming back. I don't know. But speaking of, because we all know that JJ rules the universe, and the new Star Trek film is just going to make him even wealthier than God. But by the way, Matt is directing the new Planet of the Apes film.
Yes.
And as another nice little bone to Kerry Russell, whose career has not exactly been on the upswing, he went and gave her a part in the film.
Oh, really?
Isn't that nice? Yeah. So Kerry Russell's going to be in the new Planet of the Apes.
Well,
film.
Kerry Russell was also in JJ Star Trek. She played the mother of James T. Kirk. She only appears in the first scene.
I must have blinked.
James T. Kirk's parents are Kerry Russell and Liam Hemsworth.
Boy, you know what? Felicity is the series that keeps on giving. JJ and Matt are going to throw her bones until the end of time.
It's true. But there are plenty of directors who cast actors repeatedly.
She was the senior member of that Mickey Mouse Club crew that included Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and Justin Timberlake. And you know who the last one is, don't you?
Star Wars?
No, he's a favorite actor of Nicholas Winding Refn.
Oh, that's right, Ryan Gosling.
That's right, Ryan Gosling. By the way, that new film, the new Refn film with Gosling,
looks
awesome. It really does.
See, here's the thing.
It looks awesome.
It looks, subject-wise, it looks totally up your alley.
Yeah.
It's not up my alley, subject-wise, but because I love Refn so much, and the guy is like, I have a total, complete, unrequited directing man crush on Nicholas Winding Refn. He's so awesome.
I know.
I don't care what this guy does. I'll go see it.
Great title, too. Only God forgives.
I know, subject-wise, it's totally up your alley, but whatever. I'll be first in line.
Yeah. And the best thing about the trailer, and I won't tell anybody, go check out the trailer for Only God Forgives. Best thing about the trailer is the last line of the trailer. It's great. You know what it is?
I saw the trailer, but I don't remember the last line.
You remember the last line? The last line is great.
Is it Only God Forgives?
No, it's not. It's really fun. You know what? There was an epic miniseries event, as they claim on the box, of Ben-Hur on television recently, thanks to Sony. I must have missed that epic event, mercifully. This is horrible. This is just terrible. This is just relentlessly awful beefcake Ben-Hur on television for people who obviously had no idea that a better movie was made in 1959. What the hell were they thinking? This isn't even as... This is like the same length as the movie from 1959, and it's terrible. It's terrible. Why did they do this? Sony, stop it. This is an embarrassment. Was this supposed to be... Was this like Ben-Hur for the Twilight crowd? What are they thinking? Dreadful. Absolutely awful. I cannot recommend this in any way whatsoever. And there's a special feature, The Making of Ben-Hur, and you watch it and you go, what's wrong with you people? Why didn't you... Seriously? You're taking yourself this serious? Awful. Just awful. Stop it.
So did you like it?
No. Not in the least. Actually, it was pretty good.
You're out of your mind.
I know. And then 30 Rock, Season 7, the final season. Terrific season, actually. The 30 Rock, I thought, got a little bit uneven in the last little bit, but the final season, Season 7, is really, really great. A lot of funny stuff. They wrap things up very nicely, and this was, a lot of kind of risky directions on this season. The nice thing here are the bonus features. There's some really good stuff here. So the audio commentary with Tina Fey, Jane Krakowski, and Tracy Wigfield, who was a writer-producer on the show. Really, really good. Some great deleted scenes. And then the Donaghy Files, which... did you ever see the Donaghy Files?
I have not.
They're these little animated webisode things. Really fun. Really fun.
Alec Baldwin is the greatest ever.
Yep, he sure is. And he may have a late-night show now.
Well, there was rumors he was going to take over for... Jimmy Fallon when Jimmy Fallon moved down.
Well, now they're saying he's going to take over for Carson Daly.
Well, no, Carson re-upped.
Oh, did he re-up?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, because NBC wanted to slap that rumor down quickly, and Carson re-upped. Now that show's
why? Because he's so good? Because that show.
No.
You realize they've reinvented that show over the course. I mean, it's been stable now for a couple of years, but that show went through like 19 different incarnations.
I was on that show for 5 years when it was later with Greg Kinnear.
I know, but that not even just with Carson Daly. It had an audience, and then it didn't have an audience, and then it had a monologue, and then it didn't have a monologue, and then he had guests, and then he didn't have guests, and now he's roaming around L.A. with a crew and using like an HDSLR, just shooting interviews with music people. I mean, it's like they couldn't figure out their groove. He is not a monologue and an audience late night host guy.
He is not.
That's not.
No. The
thing is, tried to make him that.
But it didn't work. And here's the thing though, Fallon is going to be assuming they don't Conan O'Brien him. Fallon will be the Tonight Show host for the next 30 years, and
True.
If they wind up with Seth Meyers in that slot, I don't know how he's going to do. It's possible that Seth Meyers will tank, but
possible.
But they don't have anybody at 12:30. The thing is that they don't even really necessarily look at other late night shows as being incubators for the Tonight Show and late night. I mean, they can pull these people out of anywhere now.
I know.
It used to be that way. It used to be you would move up, and now Fallon moved up. But it used to be. Don't forget, Fallon didn't really move up. Fallon came from SNL.
Yeah,
that's not a talk show.
Well, but also Conan sort of came from SNL too.
Conan came from everything. He came from The Simpsons, and he was great. But anyway, NBC did re-up Carson Daly, so they definitely wanted to put the kibosh on that rumor quickly.
All right.
Anyway, wait a minute. Am I supposed to talk about this one here?
Yes, please.
Wait, this is a show.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Kildare, you're thinking to yourself, God, Dr. Kildare, who gives an F? Right, Dr. Kildare. I have to say that Dr. Kildare, this thing's been around for a long time. You realize that Dr. Kildare was like it was a bunch of films.
Yeah.
It was like in the 30s or something.
Yeah.
It was a radio series. And then in the
It was a big
60s,
deal.
it became a TV series. Dr. Kildare is a character who has spanned like literally 50 years. And in the early 60s, 61, it became a medical show on NBC. They did about 190 episodes in 5 seasons, and it's about a doctor. The guy was an intern, and then he became a doctor, and of course he winds up sticking his nose in other people's businesses because that's what doctors aren't supposed to do, but he does it anyway.
Yep.
So there was a lot of soap opera elements in Dr. Kildare, but people kind of dug it. It ran for like 5 years. But
Totally.
the first season has been packaged in one DVD set, which is to say that they could not sell them as separate season set, right?
You mean nobody would buy the first half of
No.
Dr. Kildare? Okay.
No. So they decided to package them up. God, why don't they just stop it? It's all your fault.
Oh, hell. Speaking of JJ, the complete fifth and final season of Fringe, one of the more misbegotten JJ series, is out from Warner Brothers on DVD. And JJ took time out to do a little series reflection thing on this. I don't know how he has time to do anything, much as sit down and give his reflections on a series that he really probably had next to nothing to do with other than slapping his name on it. But anyway, you get a Comic-Con panel on the extras here, and you get commentaries and selected episodes, gag reel, unaired scenes, and I don't know the series, which I have never really thoroughly watched to any significant degree. Glanced a little bit at this one. 13 episodes here in the final season. It just still seems like another... It seems like a lot of this JJ stuff is sort of boilerplate based on what they expect from him, which is they expect things that are mysterious and post-apocalyptic and a little bit X-File-y, and this kind of wedges its way into all of that stuff. These are all sort of the evil stepchildren of the Twilight Zone, and I just don't know. This show is so derivative of so many other shows, and a little bit like it's like if you've seen Lost, you realize that a show that asks you questions every week that are answered by other questions the following week, it gets tiresome after a while. You can only go to that well once or twice.
Well, they went to that well for whatever, 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Season 3, The Ricky Gervais Show. This is a show that started as a podcast and actually kind of continued as an audio-only sort of thing. It's really just animated. And it's funny. Look, Ricky Gervais deals with... he works with the same guys all the time, especially Stephen Merchant and Carl Pilkington. Is the show funny? Yes, I do find Ricky Gervais funny. I'm kind of wondering what this guy's going to do next.
Ricky Gervais in your face. That's what he's going to do next.
I have very mixed feelings about him hosting the Golden Globes those 2 years. I thought he was absolutely unbelievably hilarious, but I don't know that the Golden Globes are very happy about that. But then again, whatever makes the Golden Globes unhappy makes me happy.
Isn't it funny how the only show that can't seem to land people who actually know how to host shows? I mean, the Oscars have done a few, but the Oscars can't ever seem to. Every time somebody's like, that person make a great host, someone else grabs them. Ricky Gervais, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, Neil Patrick Harris. The legendary NPH. Oscars never land any of the cool people. All right. Friends, which has been out on Blu-ray in the complete series set for a little while now, they are now finally launching each of the individual seasons out on Blu-ray for people who obviously are so obsessed with the show that they can't actually get jobs and afford to buy the complete season set. They have to buy these individual seasons. And I don't know how many people that amounts to. Anyway, so we have Season 1 and Season 2 of Friends on individual Blu-ray releases here from Warner Brothers. And I'm just going to say the same thing about this that I said about China Beach last week, which is it's always interesting to go back to these shows, which we remember primarily from later episodes where everything was firing on all cylinders, and see how all the pieces come together. Because no show, no series worth its salt is ever completely all together at the beginning. Everybody's figuring everybody else out. And that's the interesting thing about Friends. Friends, especially in the first season, those first 5 episodes, everything's just kind of starting to, click. Everybody's sort of sniffing around everybody else, and eventually it falls into place very nicely. But it's not the most elegant show right out of the gate. By the way, which reminds me, the original, the first season or so of Three's Company, Chrissy was not stupid.
I let Chrissy stupid.
That's always bothered me. Later on, they reduced her IQ by 10 points every season until, by the end of that show, she's staring at the wall and thinking it's a person. That first season, she was pretty smart cookie. They just turned her into an idiot.
By the way,
always bothered me. I love the show, but that always bothered me. They turned Chrissy into an absolute idiot.
This is for California-based people of a certain age. Suzanne Summers,
yes,
who played Chrissy in Three's Company, was married to.
Alan,
Alan Hamill.
Alan Hamill.
And he used to do commercials for
Lucky Supermarket.
No.
Wasn't it Lucky?
Alpha Beta.
Alpha Beta. That was it.
Alpha Beta Supermarkets. Alan Hamill.
Oh, my goodness.
Why don't you just admit
still...
how awesome that is?
Alpha Beta.
Alan
Why don't we just lose all of our listeners by going down the line of all the different
Wait, there's
supermarket
a
chains
commercial.
that no longer exist in California? Market Basket,
Market Basket.
Mayfair,
Oh my God! Market Basket.
Mayfair.
No, were you ready?
Yeah.
Westward Ho.
Oh, Westward Ho.
Market Basket.
Yeah, I know.
That's
right?
hilarious.
Lucky, Alpha Beta.
Well, get this. Alpha Beta, I'm on the Wikipedia page. Alpha Beta merged with Ralph's.
No.
And Ralph's is now the big supermarket chain in California.
And so did Hughes. Hughes merged with Ralph's. Basically, we only have 3 supermarkets anymore, or big ones. Now there's just Safeway, which became Vons.
It died in 1995, Alpha Beta.
So
Really?
now,
I'm surprised it lasted that long.
So now we basically just have Vons, Ralph's, and Albertsons, and that's kind of it. And then
You said Market Basket.
And then for other people, there's there's things like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's.
I want a wiki
Why are we
market.
talking about markets?
Market
You
Basket.
took us off
Are you
on a
kidding me?
tangent.
Market
Curse
Basket?
you.
I haven't thought of that forever. Oh my God.
And with that, you know what, Mark? Sing the song.
Oh, we're doing Vox Box?
We're doing a Vox Box.
It's Market Basket.
Hi, I'm Mark and Wade. I'm a longtime fan of the podcast, been listening for a number of years. My question is, what equipment do you use to record your podcast? What is the process? I know that personally my podcast, I just have a free version of Audacity and a Logitech mic, and that's about all it takes. But do you guys have like a really nice studio setup? Do you have all the fancy bells and whistles? Just kind of take me briefly through how you put this podcast together. Keep up the good work. Have a good one, guys.
Well, thank you to Brian Swagel for that question. And Mark? Yes?
I can answer that in 4 words.
Yes.
Hamster on a wheel.
Basically, you know what? We are very agile here. We got all the bells and whistles. No, GarageBand, man. It's GarageBand on a Mac laptop, and then a Radio Shack 4-channel stereo sound mixer, and a couple of microphones from also from Radio Shack, and you plug it all in, and we rock and roll. And that's the way it works.
Wait, are you ready?
Yeah.
Pup and Taco.
Pup and Taco.
Remember Pup and Taco?
This is no longer a DVD show. Now this is Mark's childhood revisited.
Fedco.
Oh, jeez.
Remember
Fedco.
Federated on Federated?
Fred Rated for the Federated group.
Fred,
yeah.
Oh my God! I got to Google that right now. Fred Rated.
Mark,
Fred Rated was played by somebody kind of famous, maybe.
Yeah, the guy with the funky name. What was it?
No, it was Shadow Stevens.
Shadow Stevens. Yes, it was. It was Shadow Stevens.
Wait, who's Fred Rated?
The guy with the funky name. Oh my gosh, we got to cut. So anyway, Brian. Yes, thank you for asking the question. No, you know what? It doesn't take a lot to do this junk anymore. What? Oh, stop. Okay. So no, really, we're pretty agile with this. We upgrade our equipment every so often. It would be nice to upgrade it again. I just need to find the time between diaper changes to actually do so. But for now, all of this gear serves us sufficiently well. Even if Mark doesn't always talk directly into the microphone.
You're always pointing to the mic to tell me to move my mouth closer to the mic.
Well, if you wore headphones, you'd sort of be aware of that.
I don't like it. Headphones it messes up my hair.
I know. That's what Henry says whenever we do Film Week.
Henry needs to worry about his looks.
Henry never wears headphones when we do Film Week, and I always do because I want to hear the audio representation. So anyway, thank you, Brian Swagel, for that question. And basically, what we're saying is, if you have a Mac laptop and GarageBand, which is free with the Macintosh, and a Radio Shack mixer and a couple of microphones and wires to hook it all up, you're good to go. It doesn't take much to podcast in this day and age.
Remember Farrell's?
Oh, jeez.
Farrell's was great.
Okay.
Oh my God. I have a vague memory of this, Wade. Maybe you can help me. I moved out here when I was 10, so I don't... Zodi's Department Store.
Oh, heavens.
Do you remember Zodi's Department Store?
No.
I remember Zodi's Department Store. I don't know how. Literally one synapse just fired in my brain for Zodi's Department Store.
That's great. That's fantastic.
You keep talking.
Okay, and I'm going to talk about a movie called Escape.
Escape from Zodi's?
Yeah, exactly. It strikes me that the Hunger Games has sort of precipitated a lot of very strange quasi knockoff things. This is like this weird medieval knockoff of the Hunger Games. This is allegedly from the creators of the Cold Prey trilogy. I don't know. Is the Cold Prey trilogy something really that draws people?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know. Anyway, well, there's about a 19-year-old girl who's a lone survivor after this medieval things set during the Black Plague, and she's one of these proverbial lone survivors, and she has to escape and then get all unhinged. And it's clearly just a kind of a lowbrow knockoff of a million different movies, including like I Spit on Your Grave and a lot of these other kind of lone survivor revenge female empowerment movies. But it's clearly intended for the Hunger Games crowd. So if you got a daughter who wants to watch some girl on guy violence, hey, let her see that one. We also have the Texas Chainsaw 3D monstrosity. I don't know why this thing won't just die once and for all. Somebody needs to take a chainsaw to the Texas Chainsaw series. Texas Chainsaw 3D, stupid, horrible, dumb. Absolutely pointless. There have been too many of these movies. They all do the same thing. There is no reason under the sun to watch this. I gave this movie 5 minutes, and I said, you know what? I have better things to do with my time. I'm going to go play with my daughter. And there we go. I did it. And then we also have Cloud Atlas, a movie which I have very, very mixed feelings about. I don't think it's good. People told me to read this book forever. They said it's an amazing book. And then they made a movie where the Wachowskis and Tom Tykwer somehow took this linear story that was mythical and epic in scope all the way from the distant past into the distant future and all these interlocking stories, and they said, why don't we just tell all these different stories simultaneously as if they all take place kind of concurrently with the exact same actors playing different roles in each one, as if there's some kind of reincarnation thing going on. And it's an interesting idea. It's a hugely ambitious film that features some of the absolutely most embarrassingly bad makeup you will ever see in motion pictures. And, Hugh Grant does some interesting stuff in this. Tom Hanks does some interesting stuff. But then, there's other stuff that is just awful.
Well, the thing with the book is that the book it's a lot of plot and a lot of sci-fi and a lot of, souls and and that kind of stuff. But what resonated with people was the emotions and the themes behind it, and that's what you don't get in the movie. So in the movie, you get all the great CGI, and you get the great spaceships, and you get the big sailing ships, and you get all the great actors, but you miss it's a little bit like the 1974 version of Great Gatsby that we talked about last week. You miss the emotion and the resonance, and what made people love it in the first place. You miss all that kind of stuff in Cloud Atlas. I mean, you can't fault him for trying. No. It is very ambitious. It's very well edited because he keeps all of that stuff together.
It is well edited. I'll give it that. But
I just think ultimately it's just people always call books unfilmable, and they wind up being very filmable.
Yeah.
Including like Naked Lunch. They're all these books are like unfilmable. This book I think is probably unfilmable.
It is almost certainly unfilmable, although they said that as well about Slaughterhouse-5, which had certain challenges similar to this. And Slaughterhouse-5 is a pretty interesting film.
That's true.
But that was made during the 70s, when you had that late 60s, 70s kind of film brat explosion where everybody was able to do things a little bit more daringly, right? Kind of after the studio system, but before the corporate system took over. And I thought George Roy Hill did a really good job with that movie. I still think that's a really cool film. Anyway, the extras on here I actually think are more interesting than the movie. A lot of great featurette stuff, including a thing called A Film Like No Other, which is all about how the film came together. And I actually find the story of how the film came together more interesting than what actually came together. Much more interesting. So there's some good stuff to watch on this. I don't know if I'd recommend a buy, even for people who like the book, but I do want to make one quick comment about a movie called Fourplay, Fourplay. One word, Tales of Sexual Intimacy. This is a little independent film, 4 stories about sexuality in different American cities. This thing is kind of a self-distributed deal, and I think it showed up at Sundance last year, and it was at the Cannes, the Directors Fortnight at Cannes. And it's done a few other festivals around, and I think it's an interesting little independent film. I don't say that about a lot of films at this level. But it's worth checking out. It doesn't take a long time to watch, 80 minutes. If you want to kind of surprise yourself with something that actually is, on an independent level, a little bit more inventive and daring in its writing than it sounds. I mean, you think sexuality in 4 different cities. No, it's actually a nice little experiment. So I applaud them for doing this. I think it's I think it's a worthwhile little effort. So Fourplay, Fourplay, one word title.
Yay! Wade, there was a movie last year called 3-2-1 Frankie Goes Boom, which seems to have been shortened to Frankie Goes Boom for the Blu-ray release. And it's about these two brothers. One is played by Chris O'Dowd, who has a new show on HBO, created by Christopher Guest. Anyway, it's about two brothers, and one of them has an embarrassing YouTube video uploaded to the internet. It makes him, it's a viral hit, but it embarrasses him totally, and he totally disappears until the brother decides to, resurrect his life in an amazing act of brotherly love.
I'm
anyway,
not even listening. This sounds so uninteresting. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, you know what? There's interesting stuff going on. Chris O'Dowd, I think, is kind of a charming actor. He was also in Bridesmaids, which is a comedy I love. Although it's too long. But anyway, everybody here plays against type just a little bit, which I think is kind of fun. I mean, look, what's his name? Ron Perlman plays a post-op transsexual. I mean, how can, when Ron Perlman plays a post-op transsexual,
the world is coming to an end.
You know you're onto something. So there's some okay stuff here. It's a little bit vulgar. It's got a decent cast. Lizzie Kaplan is in it also. Chris Noth is in it. I mean, wait, look at that picture.
What? Seriously?
That is Ron Perlman as a post-op transsexual.
Ew.
So there's some stuff here. It's sporadically funny.
Ew. Gross.
The cast is very game. Ultimately it doesn't come together, I think, quite that well. But there's. It's a decent rental if you want like a frat boyish type rental experience on a Saturday night. You might dig Frankie Go Boom.
All right, fine. Is that worth talking about?
No.
Okay, then we won't talk about that.
It's Leonie.
Okay.
Which, by the way, is a name that I couldn't even pronounce the moment I heard the film existed. But I do like Emily Mortimer. I think she's terrific. And here she's very pretty, can be very charming. But here she's sort of like almost purposely charmless in that she plays the wife of this very famous Japanese-American sculptor. And what's interesting about the film, although it's not ultimately very good, is that it's kind of revisionist, where it's another one of those like the power behind the male throne, the male creativity is a woman. So if you like exploring those sorts of themes, then you might like Leonie, Leonie. It looks beautiful. It's sort of in that, Merchant Ivory-esque shooting at the magic hour, big grand vistas kind of looking movie. And I do like Emily Mortimer, but anyway, it's okay.
I like that. I love Emily Mortimer. She's lovely. I will check it out. We're going to move into some catalog stuff now, and probably wrap the show out with this, unless we can blow through it and still have some time for some music titles. But Crimewave, Blu-ray DVD combo pack from Shout Factory. This is a fantastic cult film that has never been on DVD or Blu-ray before. This is kind of a big deal. At least for certain people. And it's a big deal because it's a Sam Raimi film. It's one of those kind of fringe Sam Raimi films that everybody always talks about, but no one seems to have seen. And it came right after The Evil Dead, and it just sort of vanished. And it was, it was a Bruce Campbell thing. He brought Bruce Campbell back, and it's a small part, but it's certainly worthwhile. But the interesting thing about this is that this very strange, unusual, weird movie about it's kind of this strange neo-noir crime film about exterminators who are going to try and kill somebody. It's co-written with the Coen brothers. Sam Raimi wrote this with Ethan and Joel Coen because they're all childhood friends, right? They're all kind of tight in that same circle, and they all kind of grew up to be very, very successful. And I don't think a lot of people realized they actually collaborated on this thing. The Coen brothers took time out from their career, which was burgeoning at the time, to write this thing with Sam Raimi. And is it great? No, it's just weird. It's just kind of quirky in that Sam Raimi way. But for people who've heard about it, it's definitely worth a rental. Maybe not a purchase, but definitely a rental.
Wade, let's wrap out. Of course, I'm making that call. Let's wrap out with the Henry Fonda collection. This is a package collection from the good folks at Fox. We're not wrapping out, are we?
Well, we got the rest of the Fox stuff.
Okay.
A few more Fox stuff.
Box collection. This is the Henry Fonda collection. Now, Wade and I always complain that box sets always wind up with, 2 good films and 3 terrible films. But you know what? They did a good job. I mean, there's a lot of good films in here. You have Jesse James, which is Fonda with Tyrone Power. Drums Along the Mohawk, great, Revolutionary War film. Grapes of Wrath, of course, fantastic. The Return of Frank James, Immortal Sergeant, whatever. It does have Marina Hara in it, but whatever. The Oxbow Incident, which is a great, great all-time classic. My Darling Clementine, White Earp, one of the best White Earp films. Daisy Kenyon with Joan Crawford, can't beat that. The Longest Day, which is one of the great war films. And The Boston Strangler, which is like, okay. So there are some good films here, man. I mean, this is, if you're maybe your parents or grandparents are into Henry Fonda, this is all, of course, on DVD, which is a bit disappointing. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 films here, and at least 5 of them are absolutely terrific, and the rest are watchable. Only Immortal Sergeant is not really a good one. But ultimately, the Henry Fonda film collection is one of the better film collection sets I've seen.
They haven't been doing those a lot lately. They kind of backed away from that. There used to be, Tyrone Power, Elizabeth Taylor, Spencer Tracy, and they
Nobody was buying them.
Nobody was buying them. That just didn't. The star power didn't have the allure that it used to have. In fact, real quickly before I get into the last titles, there's a very interesting article this week on Variety that's about that very thing. That is talking about the marketing campaigns for a lot of these movies, and they point specifically to stuff like Elysium and The Lone Ranger and all these posters. If you notice, the one sheets for all the big summer blockbusters don't show any stars on them. They don't show any stars' faces. The whole new thing in studio marketing is about selling the concept, getting people interested in the concept, because nobody's going to see stars anymore. So rather than show Matt Damon's face, that doesn't get you in, but you show the back of a guy wearing some kind of futuristic exoskeleton, suddenly that stirs everyone's inner gamer. They're like, ooh, it looks like a post-apocalyptic thing.
I mean, Tom Cruise is it. I mean, I don't know who else. Denzel Washington? No. Tom Cruise, man. He's don't you think he's the only one?
I don't know.
Who else is out there?
I don't know.
Not DiCaprio. I mean, now the best you can hope for is that the performers are the icing on the cake.
True.
That's it. But ultimately, you're not seeing a film.
We have the 50th anniversary. I know, Mark, right?
I want one.
You got one.
Yay!
The 50th anniversary edition of The Great Escape, which is such a great film. 20th Century Fox and MGM finally do a really, really good job here. Not a lot of extras on this thing. There are just 8 featurettes plus.
Finally on Blu-ray. Wade, give me this, Wade. No, Unky Wade.
Would you let me get to it,
Unky,
please?
I love this movie.
Good grief, man.
This is one of my all-time favorite movies.
We're talking about a different movie right now.
No, we're not. We're talking about this movie.
No, we're talking about The Great Escape.
Oh, are you going to give me this?
No.
Oh,
The Great Escape.
I love this movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
It's so good.
I know, and we're going to get to it in just a moment. The Great Escape 50th Anniversary Edition. Jeez, man.
I love this.
It's terrific.
So I rewatched it like a couple of months ago.
It's great, man.
Because I have it on DVD.
Elmer Bernstein music just rocks the house. John Sturges never made a better film. I mean, here's a guy who was really just a really solid workmanlike studio director, and he just killed it with this film and never replicated that success. And worth also noting is the screenplay co-written by, based on the Paul Brickhill book, but the screenplay co-written by James Clavell, who did a lot of work as a screenwriter back in the day. And he brings that epic Shogun Taipan vision to this thing, and it's just great. And, of course, The Great Escape inspired so many other movies, and along with Stalag 17 was basically the inspiration for Hogan's Heroes, which is probably its greatest claim to fame. Because really, Hogan's Heroes is, that's sort of the pinnacle of this stuff. Anyway, all you got to know is that the artwork that they choose for the cover of this thing is Steve McQueen on a motorcycle. And is there anything else that could possibly be more iconic?
Absolutely. In this film, sure.
Yeah.
This is it. James Garner, Donald Pleasance,
Richard Attenborough.
That's right.
Yeah.
The pre-Jurassic Park Richard Attenborough, pre-Gandhi directing.
James Garner and Charles Bronson and James Coburn and Steve McQueen. How much more testosterone can a movie take?
Yeah, it's the best.
That's just, if you had John Wayne in this movie, it would literally become just a I don't want to say it. It would be vulgar. The other movie that Mark was just flipping out over is the long overdue Blu-ray release of The Verdict.
It's so good.
From 1982. A movie that kind of got buried in 1982 during the Oscars. It's a great movie, but 1982 was the year of Gandhi and E.T. and Das Boot and Tootsie.
It's a great year for films.
It was an amazing year. Think of that. Those were the 5 big films at the Oscars that year. Those are the 5 nominated directors. Sidney Lumet, Wolfgang Peterson for Das Boot, Sidney Pollack for Tootsie, Attenborough for Gandhi, who wound up winning, and Spielberg for E.T. When was the last time we had 5 films nominated in any category to match that? That was an unbelievable quintet. That's an incredible bunch of films. Anyway, The Verdict, finally on Blu-ray. And really one of Sidney Lumet's last great movies. I don't think this may have been everything was downhill from here. I don't think he did another film after The Verdict that was as good as The Verdict.
I liked the first half of Q&A.
Yeah, but it's not The Verdict. The Verdict is
No,
really...
it ain't The Verdict.
The Verdict really just nails it. Everything about The Verdict is just great. The Verdict, I've often heard sometimes described as the last great movie of the 70s. Even though it's 1982, it's sort of like what you got, the cinema of the 70s. This was the last gasp. Because all those other movies that I just mentioned, those are very much movies of the 80s. Tootsie is very much a movie of the 80s. It's an 80s comedy, and E.T., of course, is very much a movie of the 80s. But, like, the Verdict almost belongs to 1975.
Well, because it's about very flawed people.
It's just great.
In a time when you can show people being just epically flawed
and
on a personal and professional level.
It's the movie that Paul Newman would have won Best Actor
right.
for if he weren't up against Ben Kingsley playing Gandhi. He would have
won it anyway.
It was.
And then they gave it to him for Color of Money, which is lame.
It is lame, but anyway, Verdict is really good on Blu-ray. It's a darkly photographed film.
Rent it right now.
You got to get it. It's a darkly photographed film, and Blu-ray just catches all those shadows. They did a really nice job here. I got to finally credit Fox.
Best.
They've really done a good job. The grain is there. I mean, it's a lovely transfer, and there's some really good stuff on here, including Sidney Lumet on the craft of directing, which is outstanding. The audio commentary, of course, with Sidney Lumet and Paul Newman it was recorded quite some time back because Sidney Lumet is now passed away, as is Paul Newman. So they have not come back from the grave to do that commentary. But it's really nice to hear the two of them really just digging in and telling you all their secrets. And Sidney Lumet is such a great talker. He's just a great talker.
Wait, keep talking.
All right, and Robert Redford, another icon of the era, who we last week talked about in his misbegotten performance as Gatsby. He also was in a movie called Brubaker, which features some pretty cool Lalo Schifrin music and not much else. Stuart Rosenberg, a director who really should have had a much better career, never really took flight, does a decent job here. The whole thing is based on the real story of Tom Merton, who was a superintendent in an Arkansas prison, and kind of turned the whole thing upside down. But the movie's kind of so-so and very middling. And then John Steinbeck's Viva Zapata with Marlon Brando and Gene Peters. This is another one of those strange movies that people kind of come back to again and again and debate whether or not it's actually any good or not. It's the story of the revolutionary Emiliano Zapata with Marlon Brando in a very peculiar role that I am not fond of, but some people think that he's really good. I don't agree. Anthony Quinn won an Academy Award in his supporting performance here, but it's kind of the one thing that stands out. The movie is just very peculiar and not a real feather in the cap of Elia Kazan. I guess if you read the Steinbeck novel, don't necessarily watch the movie. And with that, we are done. And it looks like Mark's already out the door. Mark? Oh, okay. Mark's gone. We got to go. See you next week.